basically, at Table Church, we're doing a series. We're going to start a series in July called Marks of a Movement. And we're going to be talking about what are the biblical and the historical factors that we usually see when God moves in a big way in a culture, like when revival or renewal breaks out. Just kind of trying to study some of those things. And there's all sorts of like kind of common markers throughout these movements. For example, often there's like big cultural crisis or upheaval, right? Which I think is happening right now. Also, it's a time where the church really just gets convicted to be in persistent prayer. Another thing that usually happens is a real emphasis on justice for the poor. But one of the things that's almost always constant through a movement of God is that there's less pastor and more people. So that's kind of the title of the sermon that this will be a part of, is less pastor, more people. In other words, it's not the ordained clergy that are doing the work. You know, the fire for revival always starts among people who aren't preachers. You know, they're farmers or, you know, steel workers or whatever. And they just get a heart on fire for God, and they just take up the mantle that we're given in the Bible, that, you know, where it says that there's a priesthood of all believers. And so Table Church's heart is to see that. And that's why discipleship, like one-to-one discipleship, is such a crucial part of what we do. Number one, because it's like the fundamental command that Jesus gave us. But number two, because it's something every single believer can do. You know, maybe not every believer can get up on a stage and preach a sermon necessarily. That's fine. But what everybody can do, what everyone's called to do, is to make a disciple. And that's why we're so excited about what is going on here with all of you, because God is kind of starting this movement. I didn't know any of you until just now, right? And yet the definition of movement that we've been using at Table Church is a phenomenon where a leader is initially involved, but eventually can't control, you know? And so for us, success is when we start hearing about people being discipled that we've never met and may never meet, you know, because it's so much bigger than just Table Church. So, all right. So I guess the first thing to do is to go around and do some quick intros. And let's see here. So Pastor Megan, you discipled Lindsay. When was that?
Lindsay and I started meeting last September. So, right? September 2019. Yeah. Before we launched, just before we launched Table Church. Yep. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know each other, I should mention, really at all. I think we had met once for coffee. And then the next time we met, we started the pathway, right?
So that's a good thing, a good distinction to make, because it's not like you have to be lifelong buddies in order to disciple somebody, right?
No, but you quickly become friends if you do the pathway. That's for sure. So
I agree.
It's the best way to get to know somebody.
Yeah. Okay. And so it didn't take long after you started the pathway that Lindsay started to disciple somebody. And so Lindsay, from there, I'm just going to let you kind of share the rest of the lineage or the family tree that we have here.
Okay. Well, I was actually working for my cousin in like a photography studio setting, and he had hired another friend that I had gone to college with, but we hadn't like seen each other in a while, and we had started just, you know, kind of reacquainting our lives to one another again. And we were talking one day while we were like shipping pictures, and we had just kind of all of a sudden it had gone to a deeper conversation, and we were like, hey, let's grab coffee. And so then, like, when we grabbed coffee, we started talking more, and I was like, you know what, I'm going through this discipleship pathway with this woman named Megan from this new church that we're kind of getting involved with. It's just really changing just my relationship with Jesus at the time. And so I was just kind of telling her what was going on in my life with my experience. And I said, would you want to walk through, you know, this discipleship pathway with me? And so she was like, yeah. And so we just kind of started from there. And that was in October. And I think I'd only been doing, the pathway for a month with Megan when I decided, hey, I think I can do this. So I did. And that's kind of like where my first, disciple came from. And then kind of from there.
What was her name?
Emily.
Is she on the call here?
Yes.
Okay, Emily, wave at us.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so this was your first disciple, Emily. All right, cool. I'm just trying to keep it all straight in my head. All right, continue.
Yeah, it's like your first kid when you make all the mistakes with them. That's what I did with Emily.
No, not at all.
I'm kidding. And so then after that, I kind of had a similar conversation with a really good friend, Jamie Cole. I don't know if you want her to wave.
Yeah, everybody identify yourselves as she says your name.
And Jamie and I had done ministry together before at a different church. And we just, grew together and fell more in love with Jesus kind of at the same time. And then when we had moved back to Altoona, we were grabbing coffee and kind of the same conversation. This is what Jesus is doing in my life. This is what this looks like. I would love to do it with you if it's something that you would want to do together. Kind of in the hopes, she kind of did it in the hopes of walking through it with someone else. And so that was kind of like her, I want to do this. And I know that I also want to walk through it with somebody else. So that's kind of like when Jamie and I began doing it together.
I want to point out something you just said real quick because it's important, and it's that when you presented it to Jamie, you're just like, hey, this is what Jesus is doing in my life, and you invited her into that. It's not like, hey, I think I've got stuff that I could teach you. You know what I mean? You guys have been friends forever. Like, you probably don't even see each other that way so much, but you're just like, Jesus is doing something in my life, and you invited her into it, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know if you want me to kind of go through just who's on this call, or if you want me to kind of walk through how all of them started, or what do you want me to do?
Yeah, I want to know how everybody started, because to make it clear to all who are listening, not everyone's on this call. There were several others who weren't able to make it, but we'll talk about those who are here. Yeah.
So then I think my next disciple, I can't remember the exact time frames of everything, but was my cousin's wife, and her name is Jen Stubbs. Jen, you want to wave at us? Okay. And it was just very similar. We have had conversations before. We're in each other's life. Jen and I have done ministry together and just life together. And again, it was, this is something that is just changing my life right now. It is changing how I do life. It's changing my relationship with people. I would love to walk through this with you if this is something that you want. And that's kind of how I question it for everybody. Just, hey, this is for you if you want to take me up on it. No big deal if you don't. And that's just kind of how it was. And she said yes. She said that she would do it with me, and so we started doing it. And she actually just finished today. I don't know if you got that completion.
We have a graduate.
Yeah. Which Emily's done too, but it was kind of fun that Jen's was today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get my hair done by my sister-in-law, Katie. She's right there. And which Phil, your wife, Natalie, is always like, Lindsay, who does your hair? Who does your hair? So you're going to have to tell her that you know who does Lindsay's hair now.
Yeah, great. Now, so this Zoom meeting has double purpose. Cool.
So there you go. And she was actually doing my hair one day, and we were just talking and just sharing life. And again, the invitation came out of me just sharing life, me just sharing what Jesus is doing, and that he has it for really anybody that I'm talking to about it. And so I just invited her kind of the same way that I've invited everybody. It's been life-changing. I have loved it. I would love to walk through this with you if it's something that you want. And, it was another yes.
Cool. And so there's 3 other ladies that you are or have discipled that weren't able to make it today, right?
Yep. Yeah. And
okay.
So one of those is a really good friend, same scenario, but she lives in a different town. And then one of them I've never actually met face to face before. She was a friend of the friend who lives out of town, and just, we do it every week, and we've become such good friends, and we don't even meet face to face. She can't even Zoom. So we talk on the phone. and we go through this stuff and we pray together, and it's changing her life. And I've never even like seen her face to face, which has just been so amazing. And then my other one, who else do I have, you guys?
Okay, so I read along this like helpful chart.
You got the family tree.
Straight. Yeah.
Lindsay's disciples.
Yeah. So.
It's hard
I
to
have
read
one
here.
more.
Yeah. Here, I'll put it really close.
Yeah, she's my newest, and
yeah,
and she's a lot younger than me, Quinlan, and she's awesome. And she's a freshman at Iowa State, and I knew her parents because the dad is a lead pastor at our old church, and they've kind of just been kind of an open book of Quinlan's journey with some different things. And I just kind of felt a pull to ask her if she would want to do this and start meeting, and she said yes. And so we actually just started, we're just a couple weeks in, and so she couldn't be here today because she was going on a little vacation with her family, but it's been really rich and good. So
sweet. So I want to turn to Jamie real quick. Who's with you, Jamie?
This is Emma Marshall, and she just graduated from Southeast Polk. We met through FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, at Southeast Polk, and so I guess you kind of just wanted to keep meeting, and we've been going through some different Bible studies and just growing together with Jesus. And so when I started doing this with Lindsay, and I saw that you guys have a team program, I was like, oh my word, this would be really cool for Emma and I to go through together. And so it's been fun. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. So what we have here is we have a fourth generation disciple. It's gone from Megan to Lindsay to Jamie to Emma. And so Emma, you're going to continue the chain, right? You're going
Right. She's going to UNI in the fall, so
okay. Yeah. Well,
she'll
a lot of
get that
ministry.
going.
Yeah, sweet. And is anybody else in the call discipling somebody? Go ahead and jump in if that's the case.
I'm discipling my sister-in-law. Her name is Kelsey, and we're on module 2, halfway through, and it kind of happened with what Lindsay was talking about, where I just got done with this discipleship program. It's life-changing. Jesus did amazing things, but I had no idea would even happen during the discipleship program with Lindsay, and we talked about people of peace, and you were the first person of peace that came to mind. And Lindsay gently said, you need to disciple her. And so I just posed it to her and said, I've been praying about it. And she said, yes. So she can't Zoom either. So it's all on the phone. But it's been cool too, because we've been able to kind of like make it for her, and just kind of really adapted some things, and she's been able to just say that it fits her better, and it's been great, especially with the online or the new discipleship format that was sent out from Megan. Yeah.
Wonderful. Love it. Katie, I think you waved as well.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted and I didn't realize it.
Oh, sorry.
I'm discipling a friend too. I've been going through this process with Lindsay for a few months now, and one day I was on a Zoom call with a group of ladies. We were doing a book club, and I was just like sharing with them part of my experience in going through the discipleship pathway. And then that night, my friend messaged me and said, I want to know more about this, and so we just started talking about, what my experience has been with it. And she's like, I want to do it. She's like, I want to do it for myself. And I have someone in mind that I would like to walk through something like that with too. And so she also is going through it with the hopes of being able to just have the tools and resources to be able to disciple someone else too. So it's been really good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? We did just have a graduate today, so we'll check back in next week.
Yes, check back.
Cool. Okay, so that's amazing. Because look at all the things that God is doing from like one act of obedience that is spread, you know. And when we talk about a movement, like this is what it has to look like. I think it has to be people like y'all. I don't think any of you have gone to seminary before, you know, and yet you are multiplying the kingdom of God in a way far beyond anything that I or Megan could do on our own. You know what I'm saying? And
it's cool to point out too, just in case somebody didn't catch this, that I had met Lindsay for the first time, and then we decided to start dating a pathway, and we started meeting like the next week, and that's how we got to know each other. And everyone that Lindsay has discipled, which it's 1, 2, 3, 7,
yeah.
7, right, Lindsay?
Yeah.
And then a few more have started since then from all of you. I don't know any of you, and you don't go to table church, and the people that you're going to disciple aren't connected to our church, and they're from all over too. And you can move, like, Emily said you're moving soon, but this is something you can take with you, and it doesn't matter where you are. And you even know now that you guys have done this on the phone that you can disciple anyone from anywhere. And that's not something that limits you. And so I think it's just really cool to point out that none of the women that Lindsay's discipled are even connected to our church. You're all plugged into other church bodies and other places. You live all over the place. We're not all from the same place, and none of that stopped any of this from happening.
It is amazing.